I got two little hummingbirds flying behind me. Got it. And got it. All right. Hello, everyone. Welcome here in sunny South Dakota. Just like normal. Not really, but
I'll give you a real view of South Dakota. Let's see. Can you see back there? See the snow on the ground?
Oh boy.
That's actually South Dakota.
Yeah, I got a little sneak peek surprise to share with people in a couple minutes here. We'll let people hop on. I think we might get a record turnout today because I saw an email went out like maybe this morning. I'm a little off. I don't know what day it is, honestly, right now. I was in Dubai last week on a trip which was amazing, but like that messes with your internal clock. So, but it's helping me do the 6:10 reset, Dr. Saunders.
Because now you're waking up at 4 o'clock in the morning and going to bed at 9 o'clock at night. That's great.
Yeah, for sure. 7 or 8 at night sometimes even. So
when Annette says just have some coffee, you're good.
Yeah, I've been doing that, but the melatonin helped me get back on schedule, and then I forgot to take some last night. But so melatonin does work. We've talked about that in the past on our webinars. That's something that you've been recommending a little bit more, saying is healthy for you in certain ways, right?
Yeah. Usually most hormones, when you take the hormone, you prevent the glands from making that hormone. But melatonin is actually found in a lot of different tissues in the body, and it doesn't have the negative feedback that most other hormones have. So you can actually increase your levels. And as you increase your levels of melatonin, you decrease your levels of inflammation in the brain. So that is a good thing to prevent Alzheimer's and Parkinson's and multiple sclerosis and that stuff.
Okay. Well, welcome everyone. This is the Fixed Blood Sugar webinar. Good to see you all here, although we can't actually see you, but we're imagining seeing you. Someday maybe we'll have cameras like people will share, but for now you just get to look at us. But we're here. It's Wednesday, 1 o'clock Central Time, and we're here to help people on the journey to reversing type 2 and fixing their blood sugar. So Dr. Saunders is here with us, and again, I think we're getting close to 2.5 years that we've been doing this now every week, which is awesome. It's amazing. We've had so many good things that have come from this time together, and people that we've met, and things we've learned, and testimonies and testimonials and success stories from people. So we just love doing this, and yeah, it's good stuff. Leslie is back here manning the controls and making everything work, and remembering to hit the record button so that we could put this on YouTube later. And so if you're watching this on YouTube later, which would be not right now live, which is, what day is it today? I don't even know. March 10th? 9th? March 9th. Oh, it's my cousin's birthday. All right, that's a good reminder. So yeah, if it's not March 9th, that means you're watching us on YouTube later. But you can register. Go to bartonwebinar.com, sign up to watch us live, and be a part of this. And we can, you can get your own questions answered. So this is all part of the Diabetes Solution Kit program that we teach. And Dr. Saunders, what are we doing today?
We're doing basics, and so let's basically start out with basic stuff from our basic files. So basically, the things that we talk about on this program are meant to help generally with the way people generally are. So even when you ask specific questions, I'm trying to think of how would that apply generally. So don't necessarily think that everything I say applies to you, because you may not fit into that category. So everything you hear, take it and say, does this apply to me, and apply it appropriately, and it should be just fine. So our the basic problem with diabetes type 2 is it's a problem of too much. And the question of too much is too much what? And it is that we generally, in our society, we eat too much. But the thing I wanted to talk about today is that what we mostly get too much of is things that are processed, things that have a lot of flavor in it, a lot of the things we like. And what are the things we like? Well, if you go to a restaurant, every restaurant has to have 4 ingredients or people won't go back. They have to have sugar, salt, fat, and MSG. And if they don't have those 4 things in their food, then people will go, it was okay. It was just food. It's not good unless it has those 4 things in it. Well, those 4 things, sugar, salt, fat, and MSG, are all things that are toxic to the body in high amounts. But it's the things that our taste buds really like. So that we start in on, as a young person, getting a lot of that in our diet, and we expect that. Children today expect everything to be sweet. I used to notice that in my practice. I'm like, that you can't just drink milk. There has to be something in it, chocolate or strawberry or something. And I've heard parents will come in and talk about their young children. And we're talking like, 1 and 2 year old children, the little children. Well, he won't drink his milk unless I put the quick strawberry flavor in it, and then he'll drink it. And I want him to drink milk because it's good for him. He needs his milk, but he won't drink it unless he has the flavor in it and it's sweet. And then, or it has to have chocolate in it or whatever. And then everything has to have sweet in it, and people expect that. So then you go to restaurants, and the things that you don't expect to be sweet, things like gravy, gravy that you don't expect that to be sweet, and they put a lot of sugar in gravy, and then they put salt and MSG in there so that it has a real rich, full flavor, and everybody likes, because there's a lot of fat in there too. Gravy has everything in it. And then they cook a steak on the grill or meat or something, and they put sweetener on it. It's not usually sugar, because sugar will brown. But there's several sweeteners that are available to make the meat taste sweet. And then they put butter on the meat, so they flavor it with extra fat, butter fat, and sugar, sweet. And then of course they put salt on it, and so people go, wow, this is really good. This is the best steak I've ever had. And if you look at the seasonings, I mean, just read the back. When I was a little kid, we grew up with, we had Lowry seasoned salt. And I one day I looked on the back of it and I read the ingredients, and what's the first ingredient? Salt. What's the second? Sugar. It was like, oh my gosh. You're putting a lot of salt and sugar when you're putting stuff on. So why is that important? Well, because that's one of the reasons we get into this problem in the first place. Every time you eat fat, it makes you insulin resistant. Every time you eat sugar, it makes you desire more sugar. There's a feedback mechanism of, more of that, and it's never enough. Some people, they just have something sweet all the time, whether they're chewing gum or popping Skittles into their mouth, or chocolate, or whatever it is. They're just a constant sweet in the mouth, because the sweet causes sweet craving. So when you go to a restaurant and have gravy and there's sugar in it, you don't know that that's causing you to crave more. If you've ever been to stores, I know Costco used to do this, and I haven't noticed it lately. They may have stopped doing it. But when you walked into Costco, they would have a sugary, sweet smell. It was just so sweet. It smelled like kind of like grape juice. It was super sweet because that made everybody hungry, and so they would buy more. And they go, "Oh, I want the big pack of muffins," and so they would take that up. Um, and so that those taste buds is what gets us into our problem in the first place. So when you're on phase 1 of the program, look out for that, because if you're thinking that you're getting, you're going to a restaurant and you're not getting anything sweet, but you don't know that they're putting sugar on the meat, sugar in the gravy, even your butter and vegetables can have sugar on them. The salad dressings are filled with sugar. Things like ketchup is filled with sugar, barbecue sauce. So you said, well, I didn't have any dessert. But everything you had, your salad, everything you had sugar in it. And that stimulates, even though you don't recognize it as sugar, as sweet, it does stimulate your taste buds. It does cause you to make a bunch of insulin, and it makes you insulin resistant. So that worsens the situation. So for today, for our basics, are what can we get from this? Well, number one, don't eat at restaurants. I don't know how to say that any other way. There's just or be very careful what restaurants you eat at, because some of them they have to make the food good, or nobody's going to come back. And making that stimulating those taste buds are really important. But that's going to do you in. That's going to be a big problem for you. Even if you're on the low carb program and you're doing everything right, if you're going to restaurants and getting stimulation of your sweet taste buds, causing more insulin to be released and getting more insulin resistance, it's not going to work. So make your own food. So everything that's in it, and you didn't put any artificial sweeteners, you didn't put any sugar in it, and of course your salts. Okay, you can put some salt on it. Salt it's usually fine. The kidneys can handle about 40 grams of salt a day, so it's not by itself going to be a problem. And then all your foods be natural foods. Don't get stuff that's made, that comes in a box or a bag, or that's pre-made for you. Make it yourself. Now, there are exceptions to that. I go to a place where they make sourdough bread, and I get the whole wheat sourdough bread. And so that's my preference. I don't make it myself. I have done it. I was doing it a lot, but since I'm not at home a lot, I don't have a lot of time to be making the sourdough bread myself anymore. But I do have a place, and it just has 3 ingredients. It has whole wheat flour, water, and salt. Yeah, it has a little bit of salt in it. So those are the only ingredients in the bread. So that is the best way to work the program, is to make sure you know what's in your food. And by doing that, you don't buy anything out of a package. Everything comes, look, here's lettuce. I know what that is. This is cabbage. I know what that is. I can chop it up myself. And it's easy to make soup. You put all the carrots in, you put all your bones in for your broth, and make your soup. Whatever it is, what's in it, and that's the best way to do it.
Awesome. This is good stuff. I want to go ahead and just start going through a few questions while they're coming in. We have a lot of them. And as more things come up that you can educate us on, I think that'll be wonderful.
Okay, great.
Okay, so Meg says, what percentage of fats do you want to use in the diet, and what does that look like in the kitchen? It says, in your opinion, is limiting fats just as important as not using refined carbs? I may have to, oh yeah, that's it.
Okay, For most people, yes. For most people, fat's a problem, and fat causes inflammation. And carbohydrates cause diabetes, fat causes inflammation, and protein causes cancer. So all you have to do is limit carbohydrates, fat, and protein, and everything will be okay. So ideally, the best way to do this is to have a very high fiber diet. So you have a list in there of free foods, and free means you don't count the carbs in there. When you have lettuce, does lettuce have carbs? Well, yeah, a little bit, but you don't even count that. Does celery have carbohydrates? Yeah, it's got some, but you don't even count that. Cabbage, broccoli, cauliflower. If you eat a lot of that kind of stuff, you're going to be better off. And then when you do eat carbs, you know what? Berries are a great source of carbohydrates. They have a lot of fiber in them, and they have no fat. So yes, we count carbs, and then what percentage of your meal should be fat? Well, as low as possible. And that depends on what you're eating. So if you're eating an avocado, and that's all you have is an avocado for a meal, that's a pretty high fat meal. That's like, what is it? Like 80% of that meal is fat, as opposed to the carbs and the protein. But it's got a lot of fiber in it too, aside from that. So by itself, I don't think, it just makes it too complex to try and count everything. The best way to do it, just take out the carbohydrates so you can cleanse. You can clean out all the glycogen that's been stored, but get as much fiber as you can. That's the best way to do it.
Are there any healthy fats that you can eat that, like we have talked about, like omega-3, omega-6, different ratios and things like that? Is one less inflammatory than the other?
Yes, yeah, omega-3 fats are anti-inflammatory. Actually, they suppress inflammation. So the omega-3 fats are going to be found in all of the greens, most vegetables. Nuts and seeds are variable. Like walnuts are really good as far as omega-3 fats, but things like grains have omega-6 fats in them that create inflammation. So most of the vegetable oils, corn oil, soy oil, canola oil, I went on and I looked for a salad dressing, and every single one in the store I was in, every single salad dressing was made of canola oil. So I had to go to a health food store, a specialty store that had salad dressings with avocado oil. And now we know what to get, and we can get it online and have it sent to us. But you got to look out for what kinds of oils you're getting too. Thank you, Joe. That's true.
So coconut oil, olive oil, are those more the omega-3 anti-inflammatory oils, fats?
No, actually, they don't have either. They don't have omega oils in them. They have saturated fats and like lauric acid, medium chain triglycerides. So coconut oil is okay to be used occasionally too, and palm kernel oil. Olive oil is great. That has omega-9 fatty acids in it, which are also essential for our function. So olive oil is good too. However, having said that, the good oils are fine. So prefer those over the vegetable oils, but still to limit the oils as much as you can, and just use them when needed. And so like when I had a salad yesterday, I had a really big salad. All it had was had lettuce and avocado and had some nuts, but I didn't put any salad dressing. I just squeezed some lemon over it, and I like it that way. I find that's really good.
All right. Good question here from Steve. He says, what tests have you done to tell if you are insulin resistant or something else? I'm sorry, what tests can you have done?
Yeah, that's a great question. Okay. We've answered this question several times in other webinars. So, however, this is it's a good one to think about several times. So you need to know what your blood sugar is. And the blood sugar is a moment to moment thing. So, what your fasting blood sugar, if it's high, then that generally means that you're insulin resistant to some extent. Your insulin level is very helpful. And if you do the two of those, you can do what's called a insulin resistance index. And don't ask me to go through the math because it's not a simple this plus this. But the insulin resistance index is done by the lab. So you can ask for specifically that test, an insulin resistance index. But I like to do all of them. I like to do the hemoglobin A1C, blood sugar, insulin level, and the C peptide, and it's just C dash peptide. So the C peptide is what's left over after the insulin is broken off. So that the pancreas puts out this protein, and then it gets cut off, and part of that is insulin, the other part is C peptide, and the C peptide lasts longer than, like 10 times longer than the insulin molecule itself. So when you measure your insulin level, you're getting kind of like sort of an immediate, this is what you're releasing right now. Whereas the C peptide gives you more of an average of, oh yeah, this is what you've been putting out over the last little while, hours probably.
Okay, James is wondering, what can you tell me about taking nattokinase?
Okay, nattokinase is an enzyme that comes from natto. Natto is a bean curd from soybeans that's fermented. And so when it's fermented, the bacteria that are in there, they have this enzyme. And this enzyme is something that breaks down. It actually it dissolves clots. So when you take nattokinase, if you have clots inside your blood vessels or whatever, like some people get clots in their legs, nattokinase will eat it up and take it out. So for example, a whole bunch of people got blood clots from the vaccines for COVID-19. And so what do they do about that? Well, most of the doctors don't use clot dissolvers because there are other enzymes, there are other things that dissolve clots because they can cause bleeding. Nattokinase is something you can take orally that will dissolve those clots. So if you get them in your legs, some people got them up into their lungs. I had some people that had them in their heart. And so I've been using nattokinase a lot lately. I had like 2 or 3 people on it in the past, and now I've got 10 times that much people taking nattokinase just because of this COVID-19 debacle.
Very interesting. Okay. Meg says, ophthalmologist said my vitreous gel is having a tiny section breakdown or segment slightly. It's not a floater, but it does move when my eyes move. It stays in a constant place and has the same shape and blackout density. Is this diabetes or aging or both that has caused this? He had no real nutritional suggestions, ideas, concerns. Is it likely to continue?
Okay, so floaters in the eyeballs, that's a really good question. What does it mean? There's some evidence that as the pressure in the eyeballs changes, it gets more and less for reasons of changes, especially with diabetes, because the blood sugar is more than what's in the eye, and so the relative it's called osmotic strength. The amount of solutes is different, and so the water is getting pulled out of your eyes, and that's why your eyeballs are changing when you have diabetes. And now I can see, now I can't. And I put my glasses on, then I go to the doctor. I need a different prescription now, and that's just because the eyeball itself is actually shrinking and swelling and shrinking and swelling because of the osmotic pressure that changes from the sugar on the outside being different and, changing a lot. So why is that important? Well, because as those changes are made, this gelatin stuff that's inside your eyes, it's actually really amazing. This gelatin gets folds in it. I don't know if you've ever seen like Jell-O. You can take Jell-O, you can put a knife cut through it, and it goes back together. But you can still see where that knife cut is. It kind of reflects the light, right? Well, that's kind of what's happening with folds in your eyeballs. And it can happen to anyone. You don't have to have diabetes. It just could be worse, and often is, with people that have diabetes because of those bigger changes in the osmotic pressure. And no, there isn't anything specific you can do about it. Yeah, keep your blood sugar normal is the best thing you could do.
Okay, I think we're going to move on to something special from Joe. So I'm going to actually change this probably to speaker view so we can see him. Oh, maybe I am on speaker view. Speaker view. All right, Joe, what do you got for us?
Well, all right, a little sneak peek. So we may have been up to something recently, and I think I talked about it before, but we are in the process of making a healing house in Arizona, at a location to be revealed later. But that's actually in Cave Creek. But I'm walking through the garden right now, and this is a beautiful spot. I just wanted to show everybody.
Your garden is pokey.
It's very pokey. You got to watch out. But look at this place. It's amazing. And we are planning to do health retreats here in the near future. And I'm excited about it. So you might hear more about that soon. I'm going to go to the backyard here. There's a pool, but hey, if you're interested in this, make sure that you keep close watch of what we're doing here, because we're going to be inviting people from the webinar to join us and spend like 3 or 4 days together, immersing ourselves in all that Dr. Saunders has been teaching us, like food and sleep and nutrition and fitness. And check this out, the backyard. How would you like to chill out by the pool here while we're sitting up on the patio, which I don't have any furniture yet, really, other than that nice willow chair here. But imagine sitting out here together and talking all about health and like.
Dang. What's the temperature there? I want to jump in.
Oh man, it's about 70, right about 70 degrees, I think, which feels like perfection, because back home in South Dakota, it's about what, 8? Something like that. I don't even know.
We're up to 18 right now.
Oh, it's warming up down there. So yeah. Anyways, I'm down here this week getting some furniture in and getting the kitchen ready and all that. Yeah, we got a ways to go yet, but I'm hoping by next month we're going to be ready to go. So
I'm excited.
Yeah, we're excited to get you here, Dr. Saunders. So you and your wife, and yeah, juicing, eating healthy, practicing the 6-10 reset, getting up early, going for a hike, and getting some sunshine, vitamin D, fresh air, looking at the stars at night. Like, it's amazing. There's no street lights out here. There's actually no streets. It's all dirt roads where we're at, but that's part of the charm and beauty. So
and 2 lessons a day.
What's that?
Two lessons a day, two seminars every day.
Yeah.
With discussions.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
And we might even do some if people can get blood tests done early ahead of time, then you could do some reviews of that with people and really dig in and learn what's going on and stuff. So yeah. Okay, back to the regular scheduled programming. Today's Fixed Blood Sugar webinar is sponsored by Synachroma, our best-selling advanced blood sugar support formula. Now, thousands of people around the world are taking Synachroma every day as part of their program to fix their blood sugar.
using natural ingredients that simply work. Now, Dr. Saunders formulated Synachroma to meet key nutritional deficiencies that most people have unknowingly suffered from for far too long. With Synachroma, you get a blend of 6 key ingredients. The perfect combination of chromium, vitamin D3, and vitamin K2, which it's important to take those 2 together, selenium, vanadium, and our 10-to-1 cinnamon bark extract. Now, if you're not already using Synachroma, I highly recommend that you give it a try and see how it helps your energy, your weight, and your blood sugar numbers. You can get Synachroma at bartonnutrition.com or on Amazon. If you get it at bartonnutrition.com, you can enter the coupon code webinar25 and you'll save 25% off at bartonnutrition.com. But I realize some people like to go to Amazon as well. So anyways, Synachroma, highly recommend. Now let's get you back to the Fix Blood Sugar webinar.
I love it. That looks amazing. So I'm super excited about that. So I hope you guys are too. And if it's something you're interested in, let me know. We won't be able to take everyone, of course. So email me at leslie@bartonpublishing.com. The sooner you email me, the better. Then we can start kind of doing some planning. So let's see. Let's go back to some more questions here. Let's see here. All right. This is from Anonymous. It says, my son has a kidney transplant 20 years ago. He wants to take Synachroma. Will that be okay for him?
See, let me think. Kidney transplant. So he has a kidney, and if his creatinine, which is the marker for how well the kidney is functioning, if his creatinine is okay, then there's absolutely nothing about Synachroma that's going to be a problem. In fact, Synachroma has selenium in it to help make glutathione. It allows the body to reprocess and recycle the glutathione. So it will not have anything in it that would be a problem. No, that'd be great. And in fact, it should be helpful.
And I think we did a little bit of a disclaimer in the beginning, but we'll just say again, Dr. Saunders is giving general advice. You do need to work with your provider. And just to throw that out there, I think we mentioned it, but in case we didn't, I better just say it again. Okay, and speaking of glutathione, William Davenport has a question. It says that he's been reading a lot about it as the body's master antioxidant. It promotes detox through the body and supports liver health, our body's main detox organ. It is the most commonly found antioxidant in the brain, so it must help reduce amyloid plaque also. I can see why one doctor called it nature's WD-40. I'm over 65, so I know I make 50% or less of this. How can I support a healthy level of glutathione production in my body? Your thoughts on this? Thanks, Bill.
Bill, this is the anonymous Bill.
No, this is our friend Bill. We had a chat with him, so I don't think we've even posted that video yet. He's awesome.
Okay, Bill. That is a great question because yes, glutathione is extremely important. Every cell in your body, in fact, some cells can have thousands of mitochondria, these little bacteria that are in the cells that are making the energy for the cells. They all require glutathione, constant supply of glutathione. That's going back to the liver. The liver's reprocessing it, sending it out. It has to be in the brain. It has to be in the liver. The liver detoxes everything you eat, goes through, gets absorbed into your intestines, into the blood vessels from your intestines, all go through the liver first. The liver has to detox everything using a ton of glutathione, and it goes to the body. So what Bill's talking about is absolutely true. This is like really important stuff. So yes, glutathione declines with time. So it's like, how are you detoxing? How are you getting, preventing Alzheimer's in your brain? How are you keeping your energy up and not losing your mitochondria? Okay, the bottleneck for making glutathione is cysteine. So there's something called NAC, N-acetylcysteine, which is a great supplement. And I would just recommend taking like 500 milligrams once a day. It's not one of those that you have to take intermittently. You just need to take it on an empty stomach once a day, because it is it's an amino acid. So, and you're getting tons of amino acids, but part of the reason you don't get enough glutathione is because of digestion is less. So as you age, you make less stomach acid and enzymes to digest the food, the proteins really well. So you have your digestion isn't as good. So you don't get as much of the amino acids. So you don't make as much of the glutathione. So some people are saying that you could get a bunch of glutathione by taking it orally. You could get glutathione by taking glutathione pills. And that's fine, it's okay. The majority of it is broken down because it's 3 amino acids long. Your stomach breaks those down, and and then you absorb the cysteine and the proline and the glutamine. You absorb each of those amino acids, and then your liver is going to make that into glutathione. So it's not completely wrong. It's just that it is broken down first and then absorbed.
All right, great questions. Okay, Krish says, every day I'm consuming half a baked sweet potato for my vitamin A requirement. Does it also have a lot of good fiber?
Oh yeah, sweet potatoes are awesome. They have a lot of fiber. You know, it's hard to extol the virtues of a sweet potato. You could live on sweet potatoes. It has like everything in it, and a lot of fiber too. Yes, yeah,
and probably carbs as well. So that is something to watch, especially if you're on phase 1 of our diabetes solution kit.
Yeah, and you know what? My son came one time. I was making sweet potatoes, and he came and sliced up a sweet potato and just started eating it, you know, with the skin on and everything, crunching the sweet potato like, you know, eating a carrot. And I'm like, is that good? He's like, yeah. I go, okay, I'll try it. It's actually pretty good. And you know, it has more fiber when you don't cook it, then the starches aren't broken down as much, and it's less processed, and it's actually better for you with more fiber.
Interesting. I don't know. I have to think about trying that with the
Try it. Raw sweet
I don't know.
They're really good. Put them in the
like
refrigerator.
eating kiwi with the skin on it. I can't do that either.
Okay, we'll take the skin off, and then
I'll try.
Some people peel their carrots too. I never peel the carrots. I just eat them.
Yeah. Okay. Let's see. Krish also said, is there a natural anti-lectin?
Yes. Okay. So lectins are in essentially all plants, above ground plants. Not fruits so much, but vegetables at least. And beans and peas and lentils and all the seeds, they all have lectins in them. In fact, if you were to take just a handful of red beans, like kidney beans, and eat them raw, you could die from the lectins. They're actually quite toxic. So that's where you're looking for. Okay, what's anti-lectin? Okay, it's really easy. Cook your beans. Don't eat too much. So lectins aren't just toxic. They bind to the receptors. We actually have receptors for lectins. They're glycoproteins on the cells that line your intestines. And the lectins bind there. And what's been found is that the lectins will prevent those cells from regenerating. So you lose cells, and then the other cells next to it have to divide to fill in the gaps so that there's no gaps there anymore. And the lectins stop that. So the lectins are well, we're told that lectins cause leaky gut. But if you look at the way the system works, it's beautiful because the lectins are also signals to tell your intestinal cells what you're eating and what nutrients are going to be available and what they need to absorb and what enzymes are needed. So there's a signal part of the lectins that's often missing from people talking about the toxicity part. Remember, toxicity is always too much. If you drink too much water, you can get toxic on water. If you eat too much sugar, you can be toxic on sugar. If you eat too much of anything, MSG, everybody goes, oh, it's horrible, it's so toxic. Well, actually, you have to have glutamine, glutamine. You have to have it. You can't function without it. So lectins, similar kind of thing. You need some. So the anti-lectin. Having said all of that, so now you know what a lectin is. The lectins bind to the cells in the lining of your intestines. But every time you have an empty stomach and you hear the gurgle, 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 your intestines are cleaning out. And they don't just clean by rinsing out, they are scrubbing. They put gallons of fluid in there like soap, and they're scrubbing up and down. And that's what all the gurgling is going on. It's it gurgles because there's air in there too. But what's happening is those intestines are scrubbing out, and they clean off all the lectins. They clean out all the bacteria, and it is cleaner than your hands are after you've washed your hands, your small intestine. It is very, very clean. And so if you give time for the cleaning out, then you'll get rid of the lectins. That's what the system's all made up for that automatically. You have a meal, you wait 5 hours, you eat another meal, you wait 5 hours, you eat another meal. And that 5 hours in between is what gives your intestines time to empty out. Okay, now we'll clean out, and then they clean out. It's beautiful,
Awesome.
Beautiful system.
Well, and the next two questions actually are both about fasting. So we can incorporate that as well.
Ooh,
Linda's
awesome.
wondering if fasting.
I like fasting.
I know you do. Linda's wondering if fasting helps with diabetes. And it's like Rang says they are about to start phase 1 of the solution kit. Any helpful tips for incorporating fasting with the program?
Oh, okay. Both of those. Okay. Excellent questions. Okay. The first question, can fasting help with diabetes? Okay. Think of it this way. If I was toxic on lead, I would want to eliminate every source of lead and get the lead out, right? So I'm going to do chelation, I'm going to get the lead out, and I'm going to look around for every source of lead and get rid of it. Well, when you're toxic on food, and remember I talked about, you're toxic on sugar, but don't forget you're also toxic on fat and protein too. And that's all part of the diabetes problem. So does fasting help? Well, heck yeah, you're eliminating every source of carbohydrate, every source of protein, every source of fat. When you're fasting, it repairs your intestines, it repairs your adrenal glands, it repairs your brain, it takes all the cholesterol out of your arteries. So in a word, yes, fasting does help with diabetes. In fact, I've had people, I had somebody who needed to get a commercial driver's license, and he had diabetes. And if you have diabetes, they only allow a 1 year, or I think it's 6 months in California. Anyway, so it was a limited license if he had diabetes. So he said, I got to get rid of this. I said, how long do you have? He said, I got to get it now, ASAP. So he fasted for about 30 days. He did, at the end, he had 0 diabetes. We tested all of those numbers. Every number was perfectly normal. Even his cholesterol was normal. His blood pressure came down to normal. So he got his 4-year or whatever, his 2-year certificate for his driver's license, is a class A. So you can, yes, you can completely reverse diabetes by fasting. So then the next question goes into the next question. What about phase 1? Well, you know what? If you do periodic fasting, especially as simple as the 6-10 reset, where you're not eating after 6 o'clock at night, or if you're doing intermittent fasting, like you're eating 1 or 2 meals a day, and that would be breakfast and lunch, or if you're just eating breakfast, that's a great fast where you're fasting, almost 24 hours, eating 1 meal a day, would be a great way to handle that phase 1 of the program. And it works really well.
All right. Jim is asking, what is the pre-insulin called before it's cleaved into insulin and C-peptide?
Oh, and that's exactly what it's called. There's a pre-pro, there's pro-insulin, there's pre-pro, then there's pro-insulin, and then the C-peptide cuts off, and then that's insulin and C-peptide. So that's
Okay.
it's pre-pro, and then it's pro, and then it's insulin.
Is there anything okay, my dog wants to say hi, apparently. Come here, Charlie. Do you want to say hi? Okay, if she jumps back up, I'll show you. Okay, is there anything that you can do to remove plaque buildup in your arteries?
Yes, absolutely. And that is, there's one thing that has been shown, that has been consistently shown to reverse plaque in the arteries. Dr. Dean Ornish, many years ago, did a lot of research in Northern California on how to reverse heart disease and plaque in the arteries. And he used a no-fat diet. And he was like, they were really strict, and they still are actually. They use a very high fiber, vegan diet, but you can't even have like nuts because they have too much oil in them, or you have to limit the nuts. And avocados, something I love, has a lot of oil in it. And so that's off their list because there's too much oil in it. So it was really an extremely low fat diet. But since then, there are others who have done research with high fiber diets and have found they also can reverse plaque. The other way is fasting. I had a guy who did a 30-day water fast. He just fasted for 30 days. And when he first started, his heart disease was so bad, his cardiologist said he wasn't going to live a month. He had to have emergency bypass surgery. And he says, I don't want to have bypass surgery. So he fasted 30 days. And at the end of 30 days, he was playing a full game of tennis. And now 3 years later, he's still fine, has no chest pain and no heart disease, completely cleaned him out in only 30 days of water fasting. So those are 2 ways to handle that.
Wow. Sir Charles is asking, what is the correct amount of seeds and nuts to consume daily?
How about if you don't consume them daily? How about if you consume them periodically, like in a week or whatever? And because if you do something every day, then in biological systems, that things become resistant, or you throw things out of whack, there are things out of balance. So just to keep balance, doing things intermittently is a great way to do it. So how much should you eat? I don't know, how much do you want? It's nuts and seeds are actually pretty good, and they don't they have a lot of nutrition, and they don't have excessive amounts of anything bad in them. So I don't know.
The person who had asked about nattokinase is also asking, does it thin the blood?
Okay, thank you. I forgot to answer that question. It's not a blood thinner. No. It's not a blood thinner. So all it does is dissolve clots. So that's what it does.
We don't have a whole lot of time left for questions, but I will quick say this in case I don't get to your question. If you go to bartonwebinar.com, there's a list of our top asked questions, and Dr. Saunders answers those. I'd highly recommend that you check that page out because some of these questions I know are on that. Let's see, Steve says, if a diabetic is insulin resistant and has too much insulin, why should he or she take insulin along with other diabetic meds? for example, metformin, etc.? Great question.
Oh my gosh. You know what? You should be a doctor.
Mhm.
Whoever asked that question, yeah. Go to medical school and start, training. Yeah, you should train doctors because I think every doctor should ask that question. That's an excellent question to ask. So the answer is the less insulin you have, you get as much as you need and not anymore. So more insulin is worse, not better. It actually makes you worse. So I agree. Don't do it.
All right. Then- Okay, so Jim is asking about a blogger that he had read about who gave a presentation about what causes tinnitus and how to treat it. And he wants to know what you know about vitamin B1 or benfotiamine to combat the nerve damage that affects the nerves in the brain and is also responsible for tinnitus.
Okay. Yeah, tinnitus is actually a nerve problem in the brain. It doesn't actually come from the ears. The ringing in your ears is actually coming from the hearing center in your brain. So all of that is absolutely true. Benfotiamine is one thing that if there's a problem with circulation, some people have multi-infarct or small vessel disease in their brains, which can cause tinnitus. And benfotiamine is very useful for that for the same reason we use it. I mean, Nervala has benfotiamine in it to improve the nerve function in the legs and the feet, where there's neuropathy from the diabetes that causes the blood vessels to be constricted so they don't get good blood flow. And benfotiamine is a fat-soluble vitamin B1 that gets into the cells and improves the function of those blood vessels so that they have good blood flow. So yes, that can help in the brain too. But for all of the research that I've done for patients with tinnitus, there's not a lot of good information on whether it actually works, and it may work for some individuals and not others. Hyperbaric oxygen was shown to be helpful, but again, not everybody benefited from that. So taking care of your blood vessels, I think, is the best way.
Okay, if you were fasting, what time of day should you take your Synochroma?
Oh, in the morning with a morning meal would be the best time.
If you're fasting.
No, you said if you're not fasting. Oh, if you are fasting,
Yeah.
if you are fasting, don't take Synochroma. No, it's food. Don't even bother with it. Don't take Synochroma. In fact, if you're fasting, be careful of things like blood pressure medications, because while you're fasting, your blood pressure is going to drop down. Your blood pressure medications can drop it too low, so you have to be careful of those things. You have to be careful with diabetes medications, the injections, the oral medications, insulin. All of those things are going to be very different when you're fasting than when you're eating. So if you have any of those medications, you might want to start with like a 12-hour fast and then extend it out at an 18-hour fast. And then if your blood pressure is dropping too low, you might talk like, hey, my blood pressure is getting too low. Which medication can I stop? Get some work into it instead of just saying, okay, starting right now, I'm not going to eat for 30 days. And then, okay, what do I do with my medications? And be stuck in a difficult place.
Okay, a couple questions about avocados. Can you eat one per day? Is that good?
Can I eat one per day? Yeah, I can. I can eat one per day pretty easily. I had an avocado this morning, a whole avocado. And I love avocados, but I don't eat them every day. Yeah, because again, the same thing, if you're doing the same thing every single day, then you're going to get a whole bunch of oil of one type and relatively less amounts of other types. And that's, it's not healthy to do the same thing every single day.
Yes. Okay, let's see. Does bromelain do the same thing as nattokinase? And what is the dose of either to take?
Okay, so bromelain is an enzyme. Nattokinase is an enzyme. Bromelain is a protease. It's a little different, and it doesn't do the same thing as nattokinase. And bromelain, because of the way it works of digesting and breaking down proteins, it decreases inflammation to some extent, and it's often used for other things like it aids in the absorption of certain things like quercetin, bioflavonoid. So yeah, they work totally differently, and the doses of them, well, nattokinase comes in usually 200. It's not milligrams, it's actually units. And then bromelain is highly variable depending on what it's with. Also, I usually, when somebody's taking quercetin for other reasons like allergies and stuff, I always make sure the bromelain is part of that.
Okay, we talk about sweeteners a lot, but Roy is asking if honey is better than beet sugar, cane sugar, etc.
Well, from the point of view of somebody with type 2, they're all the same. Everything, whether it's agave nectar or coconut sugar or beet sugar or cane sugar or honey. Honey is great for a lot of other reasons, but you have to consider that honey is made of 50% glucose and 50% fructose, exactly like sucrose. So the table sugar is essentially the same thing by the time your intestines break it down. So, so the answer is, if you have type 2, it's all the same, avoid it.
Okay, and is raw honey different than regular store-bought honey?
Oh yeah, raw honey's well, for other reasons, again, because the raw honey is going to have enzymes in it that you don't have in the store-bought honey. So there are benefits to the raw honey over the honey that's been processed and heated.
Okay, Linda says, how do you convert MGDL from taking blood sugar to A1C? I'm not sure exactly, but was hoping you would.
Sugar to A1C. Yeah. So the average, I don't know how that conversion happens. It's the mean glucose, it's the average glucose level that you get from your hemoglobin A1C. And my lab always just puts an average on there, and I don't know what the conversion factor is, because my lab, if I have somebody with a hemoglobin A1C of 5.6, then it's going to say, their mean glucose level is daily glucose level is 111. So that's, yeah, I don't know how that conversion happens.
Okay. And I think we're going to end on this one. This comes up a lot, but Chris says, why does my blood sugar spike at night, causing my blood sugar to be high in the mornings? Okay.
So what happens at night, you say, well, it's been a long time since I've eaten everything, but my blood sugar all of a sudden jumps up. That's the normal system. That's how your body's supposed to work. Is the blood sugar starts dropping too low, you release glucagon, which is also from your pancreas. It's also from those beta cells. And the glucagon tells your liver, hey, put out some more sugar. So the liver takes all that stored sugar in there, all that glycogen, and cuts it all up into glucose and sends it out. So your brain and kidneys and heart have enough to function. So that's normal, and actually that's a good thing. Don't worry about it, because what that means is, if you haven't eaten, where's that sugar coming from? That's all that stored excess sugar that it was stuffing in your liver cells and your muscle cells. So now you're using it all up, and that's the whole idea. You want to use it up because that makes you insulin sensitive again. So that's it's a good thing. Don't worry about that at all.
Today's Fixed Blood Sugar webinar is sponsored by Synachroma, our best-selling advanced blood sugar support formula. Now, thousands of people around the world are taking Synachroma every day as part of their program to fix their blood sugar using natural ingredients that simply work. Now, Dr. Saunders formulated Synachroma to meet key nutritional deficiencies that most people have unknowingly suffered from for far too long. With Synachroma, you get a blend of 6 key ingredients. The perfect combination of chromium, vitamin D3, and vitamin K2, which it's important to take those two together, selenium, vanadium, and our 10-to-1 cinnamon bark extract. Now, if you're not already using Synachroma, I highly recommend that you give it a try and see how it helps your energy, your weight, and your blood sugar numbers. You can get Synachroma at bartonnutrition.com or on Amazon. If you get it at bartonnutrition.com, you can enter the coupon code webinar25 and you'll save 25% off at bartonnutrition.com. But I realize some people like to go to Amazon as well. So anyways, Synachroma, highly recommend. Now let's get you back to the Fixed Blood Sugar webinar.
All right. You guys, awesome. This was a great webinar. Dr. Saunders, thank you so much. We
You're
will be
welcome.
back here next week again. And I'm not even sure what the topic is, but we'll know soon.
We'll figure it out.
Yeah, we
All right.
will. All right. Bye, you guys.
All right.
Have a great
Bye.
week. Bye-bye.